All right, folks. Hi. The cold opening today. Sorry about that. We're we're going very, very close to the wire here. Touch and go as far as getting ready in time. And apparently, I didn't do whatever I needed to do to get my effects board online today. So, give me just a second. We're gonna try one more time to get it to recognize things. And if that doesn't work, then heck with it. All right, let's pretend this is going to work. Let's see. Ha ha! Hey, and we could just pretend the show started there. Hi, guys. Welcome to the ComicBase Livestream. This is the best produced podcast on the entire internet. I'm your host, Pete Bickford, creator of ComicBase, which I'm relatively good at, all things considered. And this podcast thing, we're still learning after 160 episodes, clearly. Apologies to the folks on Rumble. The RTMP server for them is apparently not responding today. So if you're trying to tune in from over there, I hope you make it over here. If not, we'll catch you on the rebroadcast later on. But come on over to YouTube if not. Anyway, hi. We have a lot of stuff to get through today. I'm going to try to keep it as brief as I can while covering a lot of big stuff. So, going to get into it. Before I do, though, I want to say, first of all, if you like this sort of thing, crazy production values or lack thereof in all, please hit the like and subscribe, and as well as that notification bell. It always helps out and everything, especially during the early moments of shows. Also, I'd like to say hi to everyone here, especially our mod in the house, Mr. Gregory Hecht, keeping the riffraff out. Orovia, who's first out here in the stream, he's having the winter summer out here, 7 inches of snow on Valentine's Day. Oh my God! But 44 degrees in Minneapolis and a high of 50. So I guess it'll all be slushing into the gutter soon. Mike Beam, welcome, and you're also very welcome. I guess you got your last copy of PC Gamer. Every once in a while, we get things here that we can give away and stuff, and so he was the recipient of a gift certificate, gift subscription to that magazine, which is a lot of fun. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's put out by, I believe, Feature Publishing in the UK. Really good rundown of just the current gaming scene. So anyway, Jeff Schultz in the house from Arizona, Gregor Hecht, of course. Zandu Comics from Wet and Wild Seattle, Robbie Weinberg in the house from Toledo, and Billy Yott from New Orleans, Nolans. Wukoki, I don't know how to say that, man. Boulder, Andre, welcome, Jeff Wilkie and everyone. Anyway, so I'm glad everyone can make it here. There is a bunch of stuff going on. Let's hit the news first on the local front, and then we'll hit the bigger, more industry type stuff. First of all, there is we're going to be doing ComicBase After Dark next week. I'm going to aim for Thursday. I'll try to give folks as much note as I can. ComicBase After Dark is our speakeasy show. That's it's usually a few hours long. It's where you get to be part of the show. Basically, it's just imagine a bunch of guys just chatting around the comic shop. Gals are welcome as well. And it's as opposed to the corporate bilge that I have to put out here because it's my day job. This is more like a grab a alcoholic beverage of your choice and let your hair down and just we'll just talk about stuff that's on our minds. So I think it'll range from the stuff we're talking about today, plans for ComicBase come in the future, or the state of the comics market, you name it. It'll all be on the table. But if you'd like to be part of that, please drop me a note at support. At pbickford@human-computing.com. I'll put it up on the screen here. Which, hey, the board's working again. This is great. Just send me a note, say, hey, interested in being part of the ComicBase After Dark next week, and I'll send you a note. We usually do them about 8 o'clock on Central Time. And I think we'll be aiming for Thursday, so we'll let you know on that. All right. Other things. I have some things we've done, and some things I need to ask as favors for y'all. So things we've done. There's a ComicBase build 1161 out there right now. If you're interested in getting these things, if you have it under preferences, if you have it set to show you preliminary updates or interim updates, and you check for updates, you'll get that one automatically. If not, if you want to go and download it, you can go to your registrations page at comicbase.com and just hit the downloads, and you'll always can download the latest version of whatever we're working on there. We're always have something that we're puttering on. This week though, we have a lot of good news for you if you have doing anything at all with labels. For some reason, this was the theme of our week. We fixed some long-standing problems formatting for very long titles and very long title slash names of things. So, for instance, if you had Captain Marvel 11th series, second printing, number one, second printing, variation F, or something crazy like that you need to print, it does a much better job of auto-fitting that text if you're using certain label types that like 5162s and so forth that it was having trouble with before. We also, for the people who had requested it, the human readable portion of the barcode that gets printed when you are doing labels is visible on many more labels that we had before, and a lot of little formatting tweaks to all the labels. So do check that out. Let us know what you think. Just good or bad. Try it out, and we really want to get your comments. And also, if you are using a label type that we are not currently supporting, and you would like to make a pitch for it, I'm going to say it, and I hate this because I hate working on labels. They are a pain in the tuchus from a programming standpoint. It's a lot of nudgy little detail. It's tedious work. And damn it, if you have a label type that you're using that we're not supporting and would like supported, I'm going to say right now is the time to hit us up for that. Let us know the exact label number you're using, what you use it for. Ideally, the parameters that you use. Is it a price label? Is it do you print with or without barcodes and so forth? Give us as much as you can. Just like a screenshot of your print settings would be ideal, and we'll see if we can't help you out. I'm going to say in particular, I know our English friends out there, or anyone who's using like A4, A5 sized label sheets. I know that there is room for us to get better in our support for y'all, but I've also had the odd requests come in for just a bizarro label type we haven't dealt with before. But I'm just going to say, just because it's the car's still hot from being driven down the road. I'm going to say if we wanted to make one more trip down label highway, now is a really good time to hit us up because you have a better than average chance of having your request honored if you can hit us now. All right. With that said, let me see here. Oh yes. Oh, by the way, yes, as someone points out, it's the 29th of February, a unique day for 4 more years. It's a leap. It will be a Leap ComicBase After Dark, so that'll be one for the books. I think. Good Lord, when I guess there's leap day, it is leap years every 4 years, and then there's also leap centuries, which I don't think we're going to have one around. I don't think this whole enterprise will go till the next leap century. So let's get our fantastic days in while we can. All right, other things that I'm going to put on request for, if anyone has them. If any of you guys are using or coming in from a program called CLZ or Collectors, and have data you'd like to import, or frankly just data that you maybe just had left over and you'd like to let us try to import, we have been testing a converter utility from those folks. It's funny because ComicBase has done importing from like spreadsheets and things in exporting stuff for like forever. But the problem of getting data from one program to another is actually getting much harder these days due to the prevalence of variants and how fragmented all the titling is getting. But we think we have a way around most of it. And we want to get some data sets to test with. So if you are a user of those programs and would like to give us some data to test with, please get in touch with me. I'll again put my number on the screen here, pbickford@human-computing.com. We think the tool works pretty good with a couple things, but we want to know, is this an 80% solution, a 90% solution, a 95% solution, or a 30% solution? We don't know. It's not going to be 100% just because there's too many variables involved. But if we get close enough, it kind of tips over between like it's something that we would want to go live with in a big way or not. So, but we need data to test with. It's the best we can do. Right. And other things that are going on so we are going to be doing a rev to the ComicBase mobile application, and I'll hear a lot of you guys applauding right now. But there's going to be ComicBase Mobile 3.0 coming out. We are addressing in particular a problem with the iPhone 13 and later Pro models, where the iOS is geared up to have them use the wrong camera. So there's a whole bunch of cameras on your latest phones these days, and the iOS is trying to use a special wide angle zoom lens or macro lens at small distances, and it only switches to the main camera which we're using for the barcode when you pull out quite a ways. Unfortunately, at that point, you are so far away from the comic book you can't reliably scan because it's too small a target then. It's a unique problem. It only seems to affect the iPhone 13 Pro, iPhone 14 Pro, iPhone 15 Pro, and I hate to say it, we don't have one in-house to test with. So if any of you guys have one, if you've just upgraded to the latest and greatest and you've got your old model sitting in a drawer someplace unloved or unused, if you would like to make an attractive rental deal for us to let us use as a testing model for a month or two while we try out the new version, again, P. Bickford at human-computing.com. I'm trying not to blow all the available budget we've got for things like this, buying models of phones that we don't use. I already have a drawer full of phones, and this is such a ridiculously specific bug request that I'd love to not spend $1,000 just to buy a device I'm going to throw in a drawer myself after a week. But so if you have one in there and you can help us out, let us know. We'll make something happen. All right. But yes, ComicBase Mobile 3.0, it is in the works. It is coming. I will apprise everyone about more details on that as we get a little closer to doing things. All right. So with that said, I want to cover, well, first of all, I'm babbling a lot. So hello, Steve Herring, Jet City, Department of Commerce agent at camp, and welcome everyone who came in. All right. So I want to hit just a little bit of tech news, and then I want to hit the big tech news because, to put it mildly, an atomic bomb dropped this week in the world of tech, and we're going to be talking all about this forever. But let's talk about the little stuff first. So little things that I still think are cool. Crucial Technology released their T705 SSD, which is a PCIe 5.0 SSD, which, if you are a geek on SSD like we are, I am excited by this thing because, let me put myself in the frame for just a second here. Where is it? Where are you? There we are. Because the numbers you get off of this thing are absolutely psychotic. So let me see if I can make this big enough so that we can see this more easily. But these are the benchmarking numbers for reading and writing on this thing. And so the T705 is the dark red number over here, and it's turning in sequential write numbers of almost 10 megabytes per second. It's reading it's sequentially reading at 12.5 megabytes per second. Absolutely crazy numbers. These are I can't. I'm sorry, 12,000 megabytes per second. Apologize. Anyway, that's this absolutely hammers. Regular SSDs. It's 2 or 3 times what we've grown to expect out of a regular SSD, and for SATA SSDs, times that again. For conventional hard drive, I'll put it this way: it basically makes SSDs almost as fast as RAM for reading and writing, big amounts of stuff for. So the thing, of course, costs a small fortune, but small fortune is a small fortune this time. The reviewer here is bitching about it, but I'm looking at the numbers and it comes in a 4 terabyte size, and I want to say the 4 terabyte model is just around $600. And I think I have that right. Let me see if I can find the price. Here we are. Yeah, and yes, you do want it with a heatsink. So if you want it with 4 terabyte with a heatsink, it's $730, which for something like a database server, not at all unreasonable. If you want to be the world's fastest 4K editing rig setup for your video, not at all unreasonable. So I'm pretty excited about this, and it's probably going to make its way into my next rig one way or another. So I'm psyched about this. It's something. It comes in a package where, yes, it's a big chunky passive heatsink on that one, but it doesn't have its own fan. Doesn't require liquid cooling onto the SSD. Some of the PCI 5 SSDs that we've seen come out there have been absolutely psychotic. The heatsink on them on one of the first models was like 5 inches tall. Anyway, what's his name? But this is like the first one I've seen that like actually looks reasonable. And if it turns out that it works, well in real life, I'm gonna say this is something that is gonna find a way to rig in my future. All right. So now let's talk about the big news, which you guys probably guessed by now from the image of the podcasting dogs, is about 5 days ago now, OpenAI, the same guys who gave us ChatGPT, and I think they now are owning Dolly 3, which honestly is not as good as some like Midjourney, but still pretty interesting. Um, they introduced demo reels for a new tool they've got called Sora, Sora, which apparently is a Japanese word which means sky. And what it does, very shortly, is you give it a description and it gives you a 4K movie of up to a minute in length. And I'm just going to play a little bit of video for y'all, and you guys can judge for yourself whether this is interesting or not. So let's go to the other screen over here, and so they just asked it to say, I think golden retriever puppies playing in the snow was the prompt that was on this one. And I'm going to make this as big as I possibly can. Stare at the detail, look at the way the physics is working, look at whether you believe the reflections in the eyes, whether all of that. I mean, the real test on a lot of this stuff is, do you feel that uncanny valley or not? Borneo wildlife on a particular river. And that's all they said. That's there. There's no retouching on these videos. This is a kind of a fanciful one, petri dish with wild pandas running around on it. A little CG-ish just because it's fanciful, but also that the entire prompt was that here's a very involved prompt about drone views of a particular thing of Big Sur. I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, if you told me this was just footage of a drone, I'd absolutely believe it. If you said this is a new sci-fi short from some weird Danish company that has a thing for knit caps on their spaceships, I'd be thinking this is a high-end commercial shoot. But I mean, look at the facial detail, look at the way it's all put together, and the entire prompt was a sentence long. This is a photorealistic shot of pirate ships dueling in a cup of coffee. Here's a bustling scene of Tokyo. Check out the background actors, and look how even like people are, I'm gonna back this one up for a second. So first of all, whoops, let's skip forward just ever so slightly, I guess. Okay. So first of all, let's look at what the prompt was on this one. Beautiful snowy Tokyo city is bustling. The camera moves through the bustling city street, following several people enjoying the beautiful snowy weather and shopping at nearby stalls. Gorgeous sakura petals are flying through the wind along with the snowflakes. All right, let's see what it came up from that. So we have a 2-sentence long, description. All right. So first of all, check out all the background actors. They didn't ask. They said, okay, there's people. People are wearing masks. Look how they're wearing masks. Some are, some aren't. These definitely looks like what I would expect to see if I was, walking through, the city. I like how the person back here at the end is wearing her mask in that goofy way where it's down below, or, below your nose and so forth, like everyone else in America was doing at the end. This looks absolutely authentic to me. People are moving right and so forth. The cameras, they look right. The background people are right. I can't read Japanese, so I couldn't tell you whether the signage makes any sense at all. That could be complete nonsense, or it might not. This is interesting. The story of a robot's life in a cyberpunk setting. Watch the camera, watch what develops in the whole thing, and then think about what you didn't ask for. See those little camera moves, the shake and reverse and so forth there? For that matter, the fact that you saw it cut from 2 different scenes, that wasn't asked for. This thing not only interpreted the whole thing and gave you a perfectly, plausible looking If I saw this in a new sci-fi movie, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that's I get it." Of course, you're thinking it's a ton of CGI and things like that. You don't really believe that someone built the robot or things like that. But yeah, I think I'm probably looking at a bunch of street scenes with a CGI background against green screen. Where else? I mean, that's what I really think I'm looking at because I've been trained to take in modern movies like that. But the fact that it knew to switch scenes, to do camera reverses and things like that, just as a matter of style, I find that astonishing. The fact that it's a cyberpunk setting, and so it thought, well, let's put all these street workers in there, working their workbenches and stuff. It didn't ask for that. It just thought it looked right, which is astonishing to think. How did it know what would look right? Um, okay, this is cool. But it's funny because the parts where Sora is neat, the more CGI and the more stylized they look, the more it feels like something we've probably seen before. And so I'm not as blown away with these. Now, granted, if I want to render the scene myself, um, if I wanted to go forward, I hate the media player. If I wanted to make the scene myself, first of all, I lack the skill to do it, but I would expect that some very talented CGI compositing team who's got the fur modeling and everything else like that. Maybe they've got templates to work with. Maybe they've got pre, what the, what do you call the CGI thing where like the skeleton is all worked out, and so they know how the different parts should work. If they'd had all that, pre-rigged models, then you think, okay, yeah, maybe you could have thrown that together. Maybe this is something that someone had this asset and figured out, okay, we'll put that next to a candle asset. We'll do a little bit of animation around. And so it doesn't blow me away as much because it feels like things I've seen before. The thing I haven't seen is that I got this by, a 2-sentence prompt. And I certainly didn't spend $1 million, buying assets or renting out myself, to get there. And you've got the melting of the candle and so forth. That pretty good stuff. It's got some. This is neat. It asked for a paper craft coral rendered coral reef, and you just gotta love this stuff. This is amazing. All it asked for is paper craft coral reef, and we got this. I mean, this is absolutely commercial grade work. If I saw this in a short advertising something, I'd absolutely believe it. Photorealistic light, slice of life stuff that isn't as highly stylized. Cat waking up its owner. So forth. Anyway, this goes on and on like this. I'm gonna play one or two more of these because they're really interesting to see. So, all right, that's for Woolly Mammoths. Okay, so a beautiful homemade video showing the people of Lagos, Nigeria, in the year 2056, shot with a mobile phone camera, and it comes up with this. Again, notice all the background actors. Notice all the background detail of everything that they're doing. You're panning in, again, very cinematic in style. This looks like a high-end commercial, and then panning over to the city. And you see both a plausible skyline of the whole thing, as well as the kind of crappy urban construction you would assume. This one, I think, bears discussion. So they asked for a camera rotates around a large stack of vintage televisions, all showing different programs: 1950 sci-fi movies, horror movies, news, statics, 1970s sitcom, etc., set inside a large New York museum gallery, so as if it's a multimedia exhibit. All right, this one is going to trigger your uncanny valley. Okay, so both from color palettes and the kind of things you're seeing on there, it kind of feels like it's about real, but you also know it's fake. And what's why you know it's fake? It's in large part because you don't recognize any one of the programs. You don't recognize any of the actors. This is a nice conceptual piece. Just, okay, it's a man sitting on a cloud. Kind of looks like he's sitting on something obscure with a bunch of cotton bunting on it. So if I were doing this as a commercial shoot, it would look a little, it would look a little bit low grade. Like I had aspirations to a very high-end treatment, but that I was faking it with a physical effect because there's like a mat under there, which I'm doing with cotton bunting. This this is interesting because a lot of the demos from this point forward are they're stylizing them intentionally in different ways. Um, um, to get them to just kind of pop. The funny thing is, it to my eye, it defeats the purpose of what they're trying to do a little bit because it makes them look fake. A tilt shift is a camera effect that it basically you could film a normal thing and it would make it look like it's a miniature. This one, it was interesting because they just asked for a 1950s coal mining town. And once again, this is one that ought to be giving you that uncanny valley effect pretty good. Not so much because any part of it looks wrong. I mean, the weathering on the buildings looks right. The people look good and so forth. Like I think you buy the set. The thing you don't buy is the camera. Is that there's no such thing as a drone in 1850. California, and that of course is Dodger, who's decided to guest star over here, just out of camera reach. Dodge, there you are, buddy. Say hi. All right. No, off camera. Let's see if we can get him on here. Hey, Dodger. Oh, okay. That's as close as we're getting to. That's our Dodger moment of the day, because he's wondering where Mom is. All right. So let me see. There's one other one I want to. Actually, I'll show you a couple more of these drone shots. So, here's a drone shot of Amalfi, Italy. And again, I'm watching all the background actors, all the little things like this, and I don't see a thing wrong with it. There's nothing in this that trips. I mean, if you just told me, "Oh yeah, here we are on the Travel Channel," oops, damn it, sorry about that, guys. Wrong camera, my bad. Um, so yeah, so if you're looking at this, nothing on this is tripping up my impression. The water looks right, the waves look right, all of it looks good. Again, and if I had to create this as a 3D model in order to get this going, it would drive me nuts. This is another Tokyo scene. This is one. Let's start looking at a couple things in the model though that don't look exactly right. So look at the couple going down the stairs here, right there. See that movement where they just kind of disappear into the whole thing? That one's obviously a flaw in the model. Um, this is another one of they asked for an art gallery. Another one where essentially the copy protection they're building into the model itself is what's giving you the uncanny feeling. Where is like, okay, yeah, it looks like a gallery. Yeah, those look like they could be paintings, but again, you don't recognize any of them. They kind of look in the style of people you've seen, but they're quite clearly not any famous work you've ever seen, or from any of the people that So if you knew, the people they're aping on, it's like, no, that's none of them. And if you're going to see all the work at this point, it wouldn't be there. Also, there are a couple just weird little things. Like if you think about the height of some of the display cards here, they're a little too low for people and so forth. But it got that from a one sentence prompt, and it gave you this. All right. This is the last one I want to show. I'll show a little bit of this one, but the last one I want to get is take a look at extreme close-up of a 24-year-old woman's eye blinking, standing in Marrakech during magic hour. Cinematic film shot in 70 millimeter, depth of field, vivid colors, cinematic. All right. Look at the skin tones and look at the reflections in the eye. Absolutely fantastic. I can think of nothing wrong to say about that. It has all of the look of an absolutely high-end, fashion commercial or anything else like that. Something that CGI has never been able to get down to that level is the skin texturing and tones. Even if you got all the rendering of the scene in her eye and so forth, just everything about that tells me I'm looking at a real image. So I mean, absolutely astonishing stuff, and they just dropped this out. There's lots and lots more demos. If you guys are interested, have a look for Sora demos on YouTube because they're starting to show up, and absolutely amazing stuff out there. So let's see here. Sorry. Or what's sequential reading, please? That's when you're asking on a disk to read all the parts of a file in the order they are, just all laid out in a row, as opposed to this bit over here, this bit over there, this bit over here, this bit over here. That's called random reading. So if you're saying things like, read me, 1,000 1K text files on the disk, versus read me one big 2 GB file. Hey, who do you know who has 2 GB files? That sounds a lot like a comic-based database. Um, so, I mean, what it's basically saying is, you could write a comic-based database file in what does that come down to? 10 seconds. If and read it back even faster. So, yeah, absolutely astonishing speeds on that. Anyway, so let me see here. Yes. So we questioned about shopping for a wife. Do the background actors get the residuals? No, and that's the astonishing part. The background actors don't get residuals because the background actors, like everything else in the scene, never existed. There never was. I'll flip back to just so I've got something to talk to. So here is, Chinese New Year celebration. And if you told me, okay, yeah, so we're just, here we are celebrating Chinese New Year, and and we'd like to, send a shout out to all of our friends out here who are having, and you're looking at all the people doing business in the back here. None of them are real. They never existed. There never was a dragon. There never was a street. This isn't, this isn't a morph of a street scene that existed before, which it's just coloring up somehow. No, it invented the entire scene out of, essentially, it starts with digital noise, and then it puts down things that it thinks, if I were creating a scene like that, what would I throw in? And then it throws in things that kind of feel right to it. Um, I hate to give as lame of a explanation of that, of the technology, because they haven't given us a ton ourselves to work with, but it's not based on any kind of 3D modeling. It's not based on morphing existing footage. It's not based on anything like that. It's it had the entire internet as its source material to look at, but you won't find, if you scan the entire net, you won't find a picture of this scene anywhere. You won't be like, oh yeah, I recognize that building. That won't happen. As a result, there's also no hope for ever, trademarking, protecting, or doing anything else here to stop this thing from doing what it does. So, going to be absolutely insane. Yes, the T700 is $500 on Amazon. Yeah, well, sure. If I want to get for $200 cheaper, but what if I wanted that extra couple hundred megs of read and write speed? Come on. Anyway, so this is the absolutely crazy bit here. Yes, Dodger cameos get clicks for the live stream. That's absolutely true. Dodger, buddy, one of these days I will get you trained up here. Can I get you on camera? No, the monitor is in the way. Oh, he's just out of reach. Sorry about that, buddy. I'm gonna have to put a little tape on the floor and get you to hit your marks. I heard someone's if you guys ever watched the Professor of Rock podcast, they're talking about an old Weezer album this week, where they're talking about, yeah, the thing that made this video actually work, I think it was Say It Ain't So, is that the band was so deadpan and funny because they were on their 16th take of doing this thing, and they'd recruited something like, $10,000 worth of dogs to go running across the stage, which ran, right as they're trying to rock out hard on the whole thing, and just, it was just so weird to catch the whole thing in. And so as a result, it kind of gave the video its special magic. And I'm sitting there listening to this thing, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, if I could train Dodger and one of his buddies to actually run out on cue across a video stage, and could I make $10,000 off that? Geez, I'm going to step up his training. Anyway, we're still working on catch, because like I'll throw something to him and he gets it, and then he thinks it's now keep away. He's never gotten that whole come bring it back to dad and he'll throw it again. That part, we've never gotten that one down. Anyway, so let's see here. How are chickens computer topology makes in real life? Yeah, almost. So anyway, so let's talk about what Sora means. So there's a couple of things going on here. Like I say, photorealistic AI generated from prompts is it's there's no denying it's here. Now, what we have can figure out from and in the last just what's it been 18 months since Chat GPT became the way that like every slacker in college is now writing their term papers, and they're trying to ask other tools to try to figure out whether all the papers that they're being given are written by AI with various levels of success. There's already been all sorts of scandals on both. These guys wrote their papers with ChatGPT, and as well as people were falsely accused of writing their stuff with ChatGPT because the AI responsible for telling whether it was written with AI failed. I mean, this stuff is absolutely setting the world on fire in both in ways that have been admitted to, like BuzzFeed and Sports Illustrated writing articles using Chat GPT just to do the work, as well as countless ways that's not being admitted to. I mean, how much stuff that you're seeing on the net. I mean, take the entire world of SEO, search engine optimization, as they call it, which is to say it's people who will channel clicks to your associated likes. Once upon a time, there would be, people who'd come up there with like, bestcomicsoftwarereviewer.com. I'm making this up because I never use these guys, but someone did, or, bestelectricrazorreviews.com. Someone would register the site, and then they'd hire a couple of hack writers to talk about, say, who are our clients this way? That'd be Gillette and Schick. Right. Okay. Yes. Having carefully reviewed all the razors on the internet, the Gillette name of model is the #1 reviewer on our site. And they'd throw in a couple of things to make it look plausible: lather, rinse, and repeat. With stunning razor reviews, sharp razor reviews, razor reviews America, etc., and they're all going to point back to your product, then thus driving up its position, right? Well, now the difference is you don't need the hack writers anymore. You just say write a positive review for the Schick, face scrubber 6000, and ChatGPT will kick the thing out to you within a minute. Same thing goes with art. If you think about all the articles you've ever seen on the internet, there's really only two styles of art that illustrate everything that's an article. One is an actual photo of the people doing whatever it is that they're talking about. So if it's a riot in Cincinnati or something, then there's hopefully a news picture of some people hitting some people in Cincinnati. If you write the headline as "Cincinnati once again experiences horrific violence," well, I can throw any image on the top of that I want, and I don't need to pay a photographer. Maybe I just need to show blood on a sidewalk. Maybe I just need to show a broken bicycle or a broken window or something like that, and that use that to illustrate my "Violence Rock Cincinnati" article, and it works perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, the way your brain works for just the propaganda aspect of the whole thing is the article at the top of the image at the top of the article is there to, in a quarter of a second, tell your brain how to feel about everything before you've read one word. Imagine it's my favorite celebrity does another stunning album. Then the article that's at the top of it is going to be about your celebrity sliding on the stage looking like $1 million, like that. And if it's my favorite celebrity does something skeezy again, there'll be a picture of the same celebrity just in some moment where they're doing this, trying to hide from the cameras. Repeat with politics, repeat with any issue you want. The photo at the top has already sold you on how you feel about it before you lay one word to back up that emotion that's suddenly in your head. That's the art of the modern photo editor. Anyway, so once upon a time, at least there used to be some paparazzis who got paid, and they still, have some jobs. But more and more, if I just need an image of something, if I just need an image of a broken store window, well, I can literally have AI just give that to me. If we write articles to the top of, we have to illustrate stories for live streams every month, and so, we've got an artist on staff who I say, hey, I need a picture of something that looks a bit like that. And he has options for, he can go to a million different comic books and try and get the whole thing. He can draw it himself. He can, depending on what the whole thing is. But he also has the option these days, depending on what the concept is we're trying to do. And we tend to be fairly concrete in our art style. But if we were of a mode to, he could just go to Midjourney and say, hey, I asked him, because there was demo footage someone had made of of the podcast, I said, well, okay, I'm going to be giving kind of a future shocky kind of talk, but I don't want to be all scary and whatever else. But I thought one of the more amusing pictures was dogs on the top of a mountain podcasting. That was the prompt, and someone made it was it Sora? You could have just as easily made that. I tried to make one right before the show for Bernie's Mountain Dog, doing a video podcast, and he probably would have, again, the clicks would have been off the chart. But the whole thing is, the Bernie's Mountain Dog in question never existed. Neither did the podcast, neither did any of the scenery. Nothing about that had to be drawn. No sets had to be rigged and so forth. What Sora is now doing to the video production scene it's going to be an atomic blast. For one thing, think back to let's go back to the coffee, the pirate ships in the coffee cup. Play just a little bit of this one. So you just ask for pirate ships dueling it out in a coffee cup. Maybe your pirate coffee company is talking about how you sailed the seven seas looking for the best cup of coffee. Whatever your angle was on that story, if I had to stage that video production beforehand, first of all, it would have won me a Clio. If I had a yo ho ho and here's Pirate Coffee's amazing debut, because everyone would be asking, how the hell did I do that? And depending on how brilliant the voiceover was on the whole thing, and the music that went along with it, that's absolutely that's a $1 million, $2 million ad. Now I don't know how much you could possibly charge for it right now. For let's say, because Sora isn't a product you can buy yet. Right now, it's just they're showing off, and they're letting selected visual artists play with it to see what it can do. Basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to come up with a hell of a demo reel so that someone can get a hell of a lot of funding on it. And they're also probably going to figure out, well, what's it worth to you? Well, for the video production company that would have had to turn in the pirate coffee ad of them battling in the stream for for the world's best tasting coffee, that thing would have been worth $500,000, $1 million, whatever. It's going to be some insanely high number to create that ad. So, if I just say two pirate ships, battling in a cup of coffee, how much can OpenAI charge me to make that? Hell, I don't care if you charge me $1,000 for a single clip. It's still an incredible deal for me. And realistically, they're not going to charge $1,000. It might even be free. So it hasn't been productized for us little people yet, but it will be. And then let's talk about a couple of things that are going to happen. So you saw, like on the TV screen demo, that none of the art in the art gallery was somebody you recognize. None of the TVs were playing programs you recognize. But there's no reason other than a filter that they've thrown on their own work. Same thing, they do this a lot. OpenAI tends to with signage. They tend to make it hard to make a sign that looks exactly like a real sign, because they don't want someone coming after them, because they do have big money behind them. And so anyone with big money can be sued effectively. And so they don't want to, they're trying to make a big show of good faith of saying, oh, no, we're not going to help violate your copyrights. You're damn right that someone using stuff that's exactly like ours, which had that filter turned off, is sure as hell is going to violate your copyright. So, if I want to show, a sign that, let's say I have an idea in mind for Tom Cruise driving a motorcycle down a mountain road, comes to a cliff and leaps off of it as the motorcycle falls apart, which I think was an exact scene out of one of the Mission Impossible movies. Well, exactly what that looks like. They showed a Jeep, driving down a mountain road as one of their whole things. And the only reason you can't show Tom Cruise is because they are explicitly blocking known trademark names like Tom Cruise. Okay, so I get another guy who I establish as Tom Cruise ahead of time, because I show up. I show Tom Cruise putting on his helmet, and I show a guy in a helmet doing the same thing, and I know it's Tom Cruise. You won't stop the fakes, and the default setting, unless you have all this stuff, is that you will absolutely be able to generate content that annihilates people's trademarks, annihilates the faces of public celebrities and so forth. And if it isn't OpenAI doing it, it isn't like there aren't other generative imaging systems that are right behind them. ChatGPT blew everyone away. Was it 18 months ago? There are now hundreds of competing systems which you can run on your own computer with no limits to the training set, with no limits put on them that says what it will and won't show. Different things already are being less, more or less, I think, depending on how they're calibrating. Well, we could make money if we allow people to do things a little bit edgier, and we also risk a little bit of trouble if someone sues us. But for instance, Midjourney just recently has made it easier to make items, signage and so forth, that doesn't have Greeked out letters, where you can actually say, I could make a I don't know, a Tokyo street straight out of Akira, which says, the ComicBase Olympics or something, and with people racing motorcycles. I have motorcycles in the brain today. And so beforehand it was like the Gvika, and I would have had to go over that, in Photoshop and change that to the ComicBase Olympics. Now I can actually just tell it to make ComicBase Olympics in a futuristic font, and it'll render it for me. Other people never even did that. What was it? Microsoft, their Bard, or did they rename it again? Their stuff very famously had a lot of stuff that had really, people were really going to town making memes that looked like Pixar promotional posters, and they were using them to do just all sorts of very inappropriate memeing. And so eventually, under pressure, they from the folks at Pixar in particular, they installed their own filtering to keep you from using the word like that looks like a Pixar photo as part of your prompt. But that's extra filtering on top of the base model. The base model wants to be able to make this stuff. And if a particular company is being, it feels like they're a big enough target that they're not going to do it, that's not to say that there isn't somebody with a bunch of, a render farm full of NVIDIA cards, or even frankly, someone who's willing to take a little bit more time, to get the stuff done up there, and using an older version of stuff that's, moved into the public domain or into, open software, where none of these limits apply. None of the training sets apply. Obvious things people are saying, well, what about porn? I mean, are we going to make deep fake porn of, I don't know, name your favorite celebrity doing it with something else? Of course you are. It's been done. It's going to be done. And everything else. I mean, the political stuff will be nuts. We've already got the ability through AI to make any politician, because they've been sampled so much. We have so many samples of their voice. I believe Adobe will already do this, where you can just give it text to type, and it, say the voices the voice you want to do, and if you've got enough profile sounds of their voice to use as samples, they'll have Donald Trump making speeches, honoring whatever you think he's against, and Joe Biden doing the same thing for whatever you think he's against, or condemning whatever else. I mean, and they're mostly plausible. I mean, my comment on one of them was like, yeah, that sounds completely like this guy, except it makes way too much sense. But no, it's been done in audio, absolutely. To use that along with the video that goes along with it, yeah, that'll be the least of its tricks. But in terms of its actual impact on things, number one, don't be fooled. Number one, a couple of points to keep in mind. Number one, the demos I was showing you today is the worst this will ever look. It only gets better from here. There will be models that have different strengths and different weaknesses. There's some problems with the the current version of Sora, at least with the model they were showing off, that's at least now 5 days old, where there's certain things that could cause it to make fairly implausible physical motions, and so they were kind of showing those off, like, aha, see, look for this one and you'll know it's wrong. Just like you used to be able to go to Midjourney and say, well, all right, so if somebody shows somebody with their hands out and count the fingers, and if there's the wrong number, then aha, it's AI. Yeah, well, that was a perfectly good tell for 3 weeks, and then suddenly it knew how to do hands, because people fix this stuff. There'll also be different models will come from different people. It isn't like there's this one set of technology and OpenAI has the lock on it and no one will ever copy it. No, this is code, guys. Anything that's ever been in code has been copied by somebody else within 6 months every single time. It's so count on this being out in the wild. whatever you think the tells are of a particular system, count on them being gone. If you say, oh, well, we'll pass a law, we're going to make it so that everything that comes out of system X has to be bear a watermark saying that it's generated by AI. Yeah, you could do that for system X, and then system Y will either not issue that watermark, or you can find a way to strip out whatever it was the system X was putting in as their watermark by system Y and a half. Nothing like this can be controlled in the wild. It can't be done. So count on basically every image you see being photorealistic, being not reliable. But also, let's look on the bright side of things. Count on that Joe Schmo, like a guy who can just write a coherent sentence, can now direct something that would have taken a team of 150, artists a long time to make. I mean, think of, for instance, one of the easier things to make is, especially if I don't need to worry about all the details of human expression and emotion, which they kind of have down now. This actually, it's funny because the way this model works, well, let me get to this versus CGI in a minute, but this is uniquely suited for things where you don't see the person's face all that clearly. So I don't know. Do any of us know any group of entertainment where people wear, I don't know, costumes or masks or something? Oh yeah, right. Um, I was watching the behind the scenes video features on how they were doing some of the effects in the X-Men movies, in particular how they did Quicksilver's. There's like a 2 minute long segment of they're blowing up the mansion, Professor the school for the gifted, that the X-Men all live in. They're blowing that up, and in, I don't know what you call it, bullet time, rocket time, whatever. They have Quicksilver going like this really, really fast and running around to every place in the mansion, grabbing people, moving them outside to safety, taking sharp objects that are about to pierce through people's brains and moving them aside. I mean, and doing all this stuff, all just while doing this really quickly. And when you see how that amazing, it really is an amazing effect. If you haven't seen it before, worth checking out. Bryan Singer, kind of a guy, but as a director, my God, could that guy direct superhero movies? But anyway, check out that sequence for real, and then when you see how it's made, it's a combination of stuff that is both stupid. I mean, this is really. I mean, there's literally a ring light right in front of the main actor who plays Quicksilver, and he's on a treadmill, literally doing this for 2 minutes. That's one of the shots. Behind them, of course, is a green screen, but as they show him flying around their room doing things, some of the more complicated aspects of that one are absolutely astonishing. They have people who were suspended on wires, for it had to be half a day at a time, because he has to be able to, with one finger, effortlessly move them across and do the different things. They're panning the camera in 360 degrees as he runs up walls and does stuff like that. And at certain points, they're literally taking the entire set and rotating it in a giant, gurney, to you do the whole thing. I mean, it's really an astonishing mashup of all old school techniques, new school techniques, brilliant set design, brilliant compositional design, so forth. But think about I mean that one shot alone had to cost a couple $1,000,000. I mean, it's just, there had to be 150 to 200 people involved with it. It had to have taken weeks to film, weeks more to composite. I mean, it was, again, an absolute stellar part of the movie. But now just imagine something just that we see just as often, right? So let's take the scene is a woman's about to be crushed by an oncoming out of control bus. The bus driver's had a heart attack, so the bus is out of control, and an unsuspecting woman is leaning down to pick up her child's lost toy. She's about to be crushed when Spider-Man swoops out of nowhere, grabs her up, and swishes her to safety. The latter scene, we can all picture it in our head. We've seen this done. And again, if I wanted to stage this real thing, what would the real scene, if I was looking at behind the scene features, look like? Well, there'd be a bunch of wreckage on the street that I'd lay out. There'd be a giant green screen behind me. Tobey Maguire would be up on wires. He does take after take of bouncing it in and out of frame. There'd be some poor extra woman, who's doing the is she gets scooped up on, the whole thing. There'd be a bunch of business with a bus. Sometimes on the really spectacular shots, there's like, like rails that are launching, and air cannons that are launching the bus into, a bunch of rubble or something, which is going to be demolished in the building right after she, gets swept up. And when you put it all together, it's astonishing to see. And now none of it needs to exist. I mean, that scene in the movie, I could write by saying a woman is leaning down, about to be smashed by an oncoming bus, when Spider-Man swoops down from a building and rescues her. And I might not get from that the exact camera movements I'm thinking of. I might not get the exact look of the woman I'm thinking of. And let's face it, in the future, I'll be able to nudge this more. I'll be like, yeah, same thing, but make the woman brunette. Yeah, same thing, but give the woman longer hair. You'll be able to nudge the model as you go along. Right now, I think your ability to do that is somewhat limited, but that's the easiest part. But everything else about it, all the wire work that would have needed to happen, all the set design that would need to happen, the cannon that would have launched the bus into the into the whole thing to make everything explode in a real movie. No, literally, you can give that control to the writer, who can write 2 sentences, and magically a scene that would have cost $1 million, $2 million comes out at the other end. And then you cut to the next scene where Tobey Maguire is taking his mask off, saying, well, I'm just glad I could be there. And you've got, a big part of your movie. You've got the big key frame. Yeah, this is going to shake things up in a way that we can't even comprehend. All the all the commercial work that you see, just turn on the TV with the sound off and look at what you're watching, because it follows the same rules that when I talk about when you're picking an image to illustrate your article. Let me describe a commercial for you. Right, all right. It's a 60-year-old man in apparently vigorous health, puts on a biking helmet, gets on a 10-speed bike, drives down a path, waving at neighbors, eventually pausing at the end to take a sip from his water bottle and share it with a similarly vigorous elderly woman friend as they look out at the sunset, right? So we've all seen this before, right? Because it's literally every drug commercial for something, geared towards old people, right? Every drug commercial geared to a woman having some kind of, I don't know, woman problem is, a pained looking woman struggle, with a rueful expression on her face, nevertheless, does something, shops with her kid, takes a bike ride, does a thing. And eventually you end up with the same woman looking more relaxed, smiling at a friend, you know. And again, you don't care what the woman is. You don't care who the friend is. You don't care about individual actors. You don't care about where the bike is, what model it is. You just need a mood, right? Because the entire mood is, again, every drug commercial meant for women. It's who have a thing problem. It's so much of the commercial work that is actually out there is basically clip art. It's it's I don't need to show a particular product, especially if the particular product looks like a pill, right? I'm not going to show the product. I'm going to show the mood. I'm going to show you the emotion I want. And this is perfect for that because it knows exactly what the generic emotion, the generic people, the generic mood looks like. And so instead of hiring, I get 30 actors to look between casting. I'm going to have some background people on the beach just to make the beach look realistic. I'm going to book some time and some sets and things like that. I'm going to need probably a crew of about 20 people. We'll probably need 1, maybe 2 shooting days, and then we'll lay in the voiceover and the nice piano music that sells the whole thing. No, the whole thing gets done, and I don't know how long it takes to render one of these scenes, but I could just order up my woman, struggling with shopping and ending with a nice bike ride. I order it up on the thing. I get a clip file back. I lay in the music. I'm done. And 20 other people, I hope they get something else to do with their lives. So yeah, we are going to see disruptions in the current order of things like we can barely imagine. And I don't think there's any stopping it. So last thing I want to say about this for now, because I think we're just going to have to look and just kind of take it all in the rear view mirror as it starts going. I'd say for anyone working in these fields, just as always, the advice is get ready to move fast, whatever you're doing, because things are changing really fast. And I think we're also it won't be these big monolithic tools. I think the real effect of it will probably be in the way that the same kind of AI technology is found in all of our tools, and we didn't think twice about it. So a couple very basic examples. This one, the art for the most recent comic base is it's portrait size is what we got back from the artist. So it's it's the woman with the sword. Well, there's different form factors we need for doing different things. One of them is we needed more of a landscape picture of it to show more of the wings, because there are things like Andre's cover catalog where we wanted to be able to show a wider image, because the form factor that fits on is very wide. And in the past, it's funny because when we kind of pre-do these things with the artists who do our paintings, we'd be like, okay, well, we've got a booth design that it usually goes to the back of. We've got a box design. We do that, and so we need some part of the painting that we can zoom in on that'll be interesting if we take a wide crop like that and so forth. In this particular case, because what we've gotten from the artist this time out was a digital file. I just asked our artist, it's like, well, I need more wings. Can you paint me in more wings? Because I don't think anyone's looking that closely at the wings, and if you paint more wings, who's going to know? And so he painted more wings into the wide version that we used for Andre's cover gallery piece. But funny thing is I just asked our artist, to do that for me, and I assumed he just gotten out a sketch pad and went to town on it, because he always does great work on that. Just for a laugh, though, this weekend I went to Photoshop because I couldn't get a hold of our artist just for the minute. He was doing something else, and so I said, well, let me boot up Photoshop, and it's got a feature called generative fill now, where you can take the image, which is, again, it's a portrait originally, and if you then grab the sides out and you say stretch them out like that, and you can say, what does it give me? And it kind of figures out through AI, well, I know what was on the edge of the frame before, and I know what that kind of was. Let me give you more of that sort of thing. And I'm not entirely certain. I mean, because the version I got back from the artist, our artist, was better. But the version I got back from Photoshop, just saying stretch and generatively fill, look pretty damn close. So I'm at some point going to ask our own artist, so hey, when I asked you to make the wider picture for the cover gallery thing, how did you do that exactly? If it turns out, yeah, man, I just used stretch generative fill, I was done in 15 seconds, and then I went out and had a beer. Well, I guess I was happy with the quality of the work, so I'm not going to complain. But damn, just for a laugh though, because the picture of the angel on our cover kind of ends at the navel, I thought, well, what happens if, because it's my first time playing with Photoshop's generative fill, what happens if I just drag it down and see what I get? And it gave her pants. And I'm like, what? What? I mean, because the weird part is her top is kind of a flowy, I picture as a flowing dress. I mean, I guess in my own head, because I mean, I only ever saw the part that's in the painting. I don't know. I don't know if there was a real dress on a model in reality. I didn't ask. But I guess I always pictured from my fashion sense that it would have been something along that line. Instead, I got Photoshop gave her some kind of genie outfit at the bottom, but it did it in like 5 seconds. And I guess if I didn't like it, I could have tried something else. And that was just built into the tool. Just like in Photoshop, you can highlight, let's say you're taking a picture of your kids playing in the park, and there's a couple next to them, that you want to they're not relevant to your picture. You want to get them out of the whole thing. You can literally just kind of draw a picture around the couple you want to get rid of and hit delete, and it will fill in the grass and the other things in the park that would have been there where if the couple wasn't. And it does it in like a couple seconds. That kind of stuff is going to be in our life all the time. By the way, another example, if any of you people have Samsung phones, these guys right here, just for fun, go out tonight and take a picture of the moon. I haven't looked to see if the moon's out tonight, but next time there is a moon out, take a picture of the moon and then take a picture with another camera at the same time. Samsung knows, among other things, I imagine they know about fireworks and some other things, but they will actually automatically enhance the picture of the moon so it looks much, much better than the reality you saw through your own eyes, because they know what a moon ought to look like in the abstract. And so they just, I'm sure there's a setting to defeat this, but the default is it just gives you a better picture than you took. And that is, in big ways and small, going to be more and more built into our life. The things that we see, whether they're the photos, the filters people use on Instagram to TikTok to think, so forth. Our vision of reality is going to be auto enhanced to an extent, whether we even remember doing it. We're going to be increasingly living in a perceived reality that's very different than what our eyes originally told us, and it's going to be strange, guys. So anyway, I'm going to leave you on that for now. So, yes, how about a men's ED commercial? Yeah, the Department of Comics with Agent of Camp. Yeah, that's basically that's the old the old guy who's hale and hearty and can still ride a bike. Is going to be smiling with a friend at the end who's a woman. Yeah. Very, very strange stuff. Anyway, a couple of announcements, everyone, before we go. First, Hulk smash the like and the subscribe buttons. Number two, there is a dedicated thread on the ComicBase message boards where we can request live stream topics and demos. And also, there's a torrent link of the aforementioned ComicBase cover catalog for Andre, which is this insane but wonderful project he had to actually print in a PDF form all the covers that are in ComicBase, all million change of them. And where are the ComicBase message boards? Go to forums.comicbase.com and hang out, chat, and share your thoughts. Anyway, hope you guys are interested in this one. Go check out Sora, and love to have your thoughts on it. It's a good one. I think we'll have a lot to say come ComicBase After Dark on this one. But this is one of those weird ones where, like, without a lot of fanfare in the biggest, in the big old world out there, I think an atomic bomb just went off. And I think we're going to be feeling the effects of this one for a long, long time. Anyway, guys, go out there and make something awesome. You have a good one. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.